Coach, thanks for joining me today on this Simple Coach to Coach interview. Appreciate you taking the time. Really excited to speak with you. I'm a big fan of Messiah soccer, and sort of I think all men and the women try to play the right way. So really excited that you were able to carve out some time and fix any technology issues that you were having on your end.
Hey, us old guys, it's just hard.
Yeah. That's why you need like a 13-year-old like I have that helps you with all the technology. Hey, let me start by asking, you've been a head coach, I think I read this right, since 2000. You've won 6 of 10 national championships that you've been to, finals that you've been to. Can you just talk about your soccer journey and how you ended up becoming the head coach at Messiah?
Sure. Yes, I've been here since 2000, but before that, so I played at Messiah back in the early 80s, played with Coach Brandt, and then we were teammates. Then I became, when Coach Brandt became the assistant with Leighton Shoemaker, I became the next JV coach. Back then we had a JV team. So that was really where I got, first team, you're in charge of it, go do your thing. So it was a couple of years on the men's side. I think it was 5 years. And then had an opportunity to go to Alma, Michigan.
Yeah.
Out of long stories behind that doesn't matter. So I was out there on the men's side for 7 years. Mm-hmm. And then my wife and I are both from this area. This is our home. And so when the opportunity opened up here at Messiah to come back, it was never something in my mind like I wanted to be a women's coach, whatever,
Right.
But the opportunity to come back, be at Messiah, stay, be in coaching, opened up in 2000, and the rest, as you say, is sort of history. So that's sort of been the journey of it.
Okay. Where in the area around Messiah are you from?
Dillsburg. I went to Dover High School, which is 20 minutes from
20
here.
minutes here,
Yeah. So yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to ask you stuff about Messiah just because I really am intrigued, right? Like you're the foundation of a theory that I mentioned earlier that I think if Messiah can create such a strong program, and I'm not even talking about the national championships, I think any school is capable, and I'll sort of explain that. But what do you think it is about Messiah that you're able to attract such talent? And we'll talk about some of that talent and those soccer players a little bit later. But having watched, I think 3, maybe 4 of your games, like these are special players on the field, and remarkable to me, right? Like because you had such a wide collection of these kids.
Yeah. I think, gosh, everybody asks that question like they think it's some magical formula. But I think there's a couple pieces that I think sometimes they think it's a formula, and I think it's not. I think it isn't. Yeah, it does begin with players without question, right? It begins without question with that. But I also think, and I listened a little bit, to Brad's interview with you, and I think he alluded it to you as well, and that is foundationally, I think Leighton Shoemaker had a piece, but I also think Dave Brandt had a bigger piece, and that is he had the ability, I think, to articulate what a lot of us sometimes abstract. So what does it mean to have agreements on the field and spell it out? What does it mean to have buy-in? What does that really look like? I mean, we talk about it. What does culture really look like as a player? Yeah. Because if those things have all got to line up, and then you got to have players who fit into it. And I think that's a little bit of the uniqueness of Messiah. The challenge at Messiah, it's I don't say good and bad, but it's just different. So in recruiting, we're not looking for the same person as 90% of the other schools in the country, right? So I don't often feel like I'm recruiting against, I'll just say, a William Smith. I know Alison really well. She's great. Yeah. She's fantastic. I don't recruit against Alison very often because we're different schools, right? Just what we have to offer. and who we are and what we're looking for and what families are looking for
Yeah.
at a place. And so though it narrows the pool of who we look at, when it's the right person, it fits.
You nailed it. Yeah.
Nailed it. And like it's everybody's like, you're recruiting, like you get hundreds of kids to look at your school. And I go like, no.
Yeah.
There might be 20 to 30 a year, maybe, that really fit us.
Yeah.
That really fit.
Yeah.
And so it's and then you bring them into a culture that, hey, these are the expectations. And I think it takes time. You know, one of the books that Davey talked about, Good to Great, just a great, you know, right? Just a lot of those principles. And I think Messiah has sort of hit what he would call the flywheel.
The flywheel.
You know, you keep pushing and pushing, and finally you get it going, and people think, well, it just happens. Well, there was a lot of pushing along the way, and a lot of choices and decisions, and a lot of things along the direction that got it to this point. And now everybody's like, well, it's just easy. Everybody comes. It's like, no, it's not easy. You have to make decisions every day that affect your program, what goes on in the culture, continuous expectations on the field. I think Messiah soccer, if you would say men and women, I think the word is discipline. I think most coaches don't want to work that hard and demand the discipline that Messiah soccer demands. They really, I think it's hard because soccer, and it's, you know, this will be jumping on my soapbox, but I think soccer for a lot of coaches in their true sense is like, we want it to be free and flowing and creative. Gosh, how many conversations do we have about creative players? Yeah. Well, they are important. There's no doubt about it. But I also go, I don't think Pep and Klopp are saying do whatever you want to. They aren't, right? No, there's a structure. And I think what Dave Brandt did was he provided a structure that I think good players fit into, become better. So what do I mean by that? I think a lot of coaches would look at our roster and go like, in and of themselves, pretty average players. They're not ECNL players. They aren't. We might have 2 or 3, maybe. I don't know if we have that many. But that's where you have to get all your players, right? And I'm like, no, I can tell you story after story of players who were good players, good athletes, came and fit into a system, and they became better because we helped them maximize what they do and got them a little bit better. But we stayed within our system and whatever. I talk to Brad all the time. They have ups and downs with talent. And I go, your system is what sustains you. Yeah. Because when you don't have quite the talent that you may have had, because I look at our program now, like we don't have some of the talent we had years ago. There was years ago where I felt we were a step ahead of everybody with our talent and with our system. Yeah. I would say our system, and same with Brad at times, the system sustains. Why? Because there's a structure, there's a belief, there's an understanding. We're not trying something new every week. You know, it's not the I call the system of the month, you know, or the style of the month, right? We're always right. Brad has played the same way for 20 plus years. Yeah. That's why they're good at it. There's a reason they're good at it. We haven't. But I would say our style hasn't changed. Our systems, I'm a much more, I'll change my system. It's still 11 players. I'll change system based on personnel. But the style, I want to play in their end of the field. I want to have the ball. And if you don't have the ball, you can't score. I think that's really, really true. Yeah. So the system to me is less important than style and discipline.
Let me ask you something. So you mentioned Leighton Shoemaker. Was there? He it seems like he got the ball rolling, right? Like he sort of laid the foundational work on the men's side. Dave comes in, does his sort of builds upon that, and then that's when Messiah Soccer really takes off. How did that translate into onto the women's side, like how is it that it,
Yeah,
how does it, is it just your experience from being coached by
sure.
Coach Shoemaker,
Well,
and sort of implementing similar ideas, or
sure. I said Dave and I were teammates together.
yeah.
So when I came back, we'd talk all the time, and I
Mm-hmm.
think we thought the game very similarly. So we would share, but I give total credit to Dave having the vision of how to put it together on paper. And so, yeah, what does every smart coach do? Steal. I'm the biggest thief in the world. I have no problem saying I'm a thief. I took from everybody that I can. I mean,
Yeah.
there's still my personality and who I am, but I had no qualms of going like, yeah, this has purpose, this has idea, and I
Mm-hmm.
think we grew along. Like we played that same way for many of years. When I got
Mm-hmm.
here, we played 4-4-2, right? Everybody played 4-4-2. We
Yeah.
had sweepers. It took me probably 3 years to get rid of the sweeper because that was comfort zone. I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
center back, side by side?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now you go like, well, how else would you play? I'm just saying,
Play.
like we all
Yeah.
we all evolve.
Yeah.
And but I had this model to have conversation, to talk through,
Mm.
to watch, to
Mm.
do at the same time and have conversation with, that I looked at the same as you, and I go like, I like that. I
Yeah.
think that's how it gave the game. Dave would say, and I would say, it gave us a way to fix problems, right?
Mm.
Every coach watches a game and goes, this is the problem, or at least we think we know what the problem is, and now we
Mm.
have to solve it.
Yeah.
We would say that what they play now, 4-3-3, was like this system of how can we then solve problems within knowing the framework.
Yeah.
Why are we losing the ball? Is it because of positioning? Is it because of decision making? It gave us a context versus, hey, you guys just need to make better decisions. No. That's
Mm.
not good enough. We have to give them what those decisions
Yeah.
are and then be able to help them evaluate them. So then you can take, I think, I don't say an average player, but a decent player and put
Mm-hmm.
them in a spot. And these are the 3 or 4 things you need to do really, really well. And you can.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because if you go ahead and watch a game really, really close. Watch his wingers. I'm
Yeah.
just saying. They do the same 3, 4 things all the time.
All the time.
Really, really well.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Right?
You know what's interesting about that? Like, I'm here in New Jersey, and a lot of the coaches come from a certain coaching tree, right? Like they're affiliate. Hey, Leighton Shoemaker seems to be like that tree, and then you're a branch on that. And there's a lot of coaches who picked up the idea that players need to figure out as the game is playing. So there's a lot of gameplay. There's a lot of, and I've always sort of, I don't want to say, like, I appreciate that, but to me, it's like even professionals struggle with figuring out the game during a game. And so I always wondered about like you said, the structure, or what can we do to give players the most tools so that those questions don't become so difficult, right?
Yeah.
Rather than just figuring it out, like, hey, you're going to see this isn't,
Yeah.
and I think I think it might be changing, but I don't think there's a lot of coaches still that really think that way.
I will go again, and maybe this is where you go like, hey, you can't say those things. But
You feel free.
No, I think sometimes in a way in coaching, it's especially in soccer, it's an out. Like,
Yeah.
oh, it's my player's fault. I've always said, like, freedom is great, but freedom without structure is chaos,
Yeah.
right? If you don't have structure, there isn't freedom.
Mm-hmm.
That's just chaos. Everybody does what
Yeah.
they want.
Yeah.
But within structure, there's lots of freedom.
Yeah.
There's lots of freedom within structure, and I don't think people think that way. But if you know the boundaries, and Brad talked, if you know the boundaries, you can play within that all you want.
Yeah.
If you go out of it, it better work. If it doesn't, back in. Back in, because now your freedom. No, it messed up the structure. It messed up what we're trying to do. So it doesn't work. So I think that's the balance we're always trying to fight. And I think that's the hard thing for players when they come to Messiah is learning that, because they've been so used to like, do whatever I sort of want to do and solve the problem. Well, I would also say in college soccer, different than club and maybe pro-ish, the amount of time that we have with them, so limited, right?
Yeah.
We have 2 weeks before the season starts to implement a style. Yeah. And if I say, hey, hope you guys figure it out in the next 2 weeks.
That's
you may
true,
not
though.
like it, right?
Right. Like, yeah, that's very true.
We got 2 weeks, and I need you guys off. Now, the good part is 2/3 or 2/3 of you or 3/4 of you have already been through it a little bit. I only need to get the new group on board.
On board, yeah.
Because the rest have sort of been in it a little bit. And I think that's a big part of it. Like, if it's always about freedom and do what you want, I get it. I understand it. We love creative players. We want them. I've had creative players, really creative. I thought she was going to be fantastic. Too creative.
Can't fit. Yeah, can't
Didn't
fit.
Didn't work.
Yeah.
Too creative.
That's funny you say that, because I've seen a lot of ball players, especially I'll just say the high school age, boys and girls that are given so much free reign where they're never taught really how to play. And I've seen, as they've sort of evolved, sort of how they do struggle in a much more structured environment because they've never been taught, right? They've been taught, like, you get the ball, you go forward, you do your thing, and what have you. They haven't been taught about, where they are on the field, what's sort of the feel of the game, how's that going? No, they've been taught go, 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 and don't think about all that stuff. Yeah. And I think that's I don't think there's coaching, right? I don't think they've been coached.
No, and it boils down because it was successful at that level.
Exactly.
It worked for the coach.
Yeah.
I have the best. They're the best player on the field. Just give them the ball and they score goals. Great.
Yeah.
But at the next level, teams are smarter. Players are better. Defenders understand. And all of a sudden, they have no idea how to use their teammates around them. We all would say, what makes great players great? Well, they make everybody else better around them.
Yeah.
Right. They're just a great player by themselves. But if they make other players better, right? Yeah, that's special then.
Yeah. Hey, let me, you've been doing this for a while. You've been on the men's side and the women's side. I'm sure you follow. Like, in your world, has there been a lot of, have you seen, has the game changed that much in terms of the types of players you bring in or the quality of players that are out there?
Yeah, I think a couple of things with that. I think there's more players that have had good club experience, that have played pretty good soccer, right? There's just more of them. I also say there's more college coaches. Like back 20 years ago, even when I just started here, a lot of programs weren't full-time coaches.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And now, not only is everybody full-time, like there's so few part-time. Like they're the minority, way the minority. Not only are we have full-time coaches, we got full-time assistants. And I wish I did. But I'm just saying, like, that's the trend.
Yeah.
And so now you have full-time coaches with full-time assistants who are hitting the recruiting trails in world. And I think there's just more teams that are more capable because there's more people doing this thing full-time. And so are the players better? I think there's more players who are capable, but as far as more better players, I don't know about that answer.
Right. Well, that's interesting. Right. I'm always curious about the evolution because, I even just look at my kids, and they're so much better than me at their age than I was, and I think there's a whole host of reasons for that.
Yeah, I think there's a host of reasons for that, mainly because I was just doing an interview with one of my players on something. I said,
Mm-hmm.
like, I didn't even grow up with youth soccer. I mean, when I
Yeah.
was a player,
Yeah.
I didn't play till I was in ninth grade in high school.
Yeah.
That was the
Yeah.
first organized. There
First.
was no
Yeah.
club soccer.
Yeah.
Club soccer's really pretty infant, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I would say, and this is probably where I think the game isn't helping itself with developing more players. It has become so stratified of
Mm-hmm.
just keep taking the best players and putting
Yeah.
them, and keep
Yeah.
taking the best players and putting them
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
I don't think we're helping our total game there.
Mm-hmm.
I just
No.
don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
I see a lot of kids that want to play college soccer who are playing on what people would say are pretty good teams, and I go like, what are you guys teaching them? What are you? I look at them and I don't think, maybe I can't say this, but I will. I don't think clubs sometimes do a really good job teaching players.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm
100% with you.
I think they take care of their top players,
Mm-hmm.
but even their top players, I go like the number of players in the women's game. Okay, so I'll ask my players. They're ECNL teams. They're GA players, right?
Yeah.
Hey, did you guys ever do a session on ball striking? Because I watch you strike a ball, and it's not very good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what did you guys do 4 days a week?
Yeah.
Did you ever take the time to teach them different ways of striking a ball, serving a ball, whatever? And they're like, what do you mean? No, we play keep away.
You figure it out. Yeah.
You know? Right? Yeah. Because that's what coaches do. You teach them to figure it out. And I'm like, no, what did you teach? What did you? And so that's right. I look at players and I think players are taught to figure it out on their own.
Yeah.
And we give them guidance and we call that coaching. And I go like, I would just disagree. Yeah. I don't think I disagree completely with the game is the best teacher.
Yeah.
Because then you don't need a coach. Then coach just roll out a ball and walk away.
Yeah.
It takes both.
Yeah.
It takes the game, but if you don't have a background of technical ability and understanding and training, then you're just hoping it works out. Yeah. It takes both of those things together.
Soccer's a unique game, right? Like soccer is a unique game where on the one hand you have the individual player within this team. And you're right. I do. And like I said, I watch it almost every weekend where I see these kids at the highest level at these clubs. And I'm wondering, like, have you ever been taught, like, pace of the game or, things like that? Like, how do you adjust in a game down to the very technical aspects of what they do, how they trap a ball? It drives me nuts. We used to spend... When I started playing, it was probably the Monday, the day after a game, Monday practice was solely on technical aspects of the game. Like you said, whether it was striking a ball, whether it was proper passing, whether it was trapping a ball, all those different things. And the coach would walk around and be like, you're doing, your foot's wrong. You're doing this wrong. You're doing that wrong. And, by the time, when I left, we were the top team in Barcelona. So it was a very, very good team, but you don't see that anymore. It is like, hey, let's do a rondo, which they're terrible. Most of the rondos that I watch are just absolutely awful. And then it's like, hey, let's do some technical work. And then you go out and you play. And I don't think that helps any players,
I don't either. I'm with you 100%. I feel like college coaches, even high club coaches, feel like this is the player, this is who they are. I can't fix them, or I don't even want to fix them. But
because it's too much of an effort, right? Like it's too big, right? It's too big. You're just sort of like, I don't have time. I don't have,
And we don't do it at the grassroots level. We're not, right? To take the ball across your body, is foundational.
Yeah.
But so few players can do it.
Yeah.
Or understand why.
Yeah. The other one for me that I almost wish like there was some tool that prevented them from doing that is like using the outside of their foot either to pass it or trap it.
Oh my.
Because they're not good They're not good under, like, because it's the most awkward thing. And they think that instead of
Oh,
using their, let's just say, their left foot to bring the ball in so that they could face it, they think the outside of the foot is a lot better because it sets them up for their right foot or whatever when they're doing it. And that drives me nuts.
we won't even
Drives
go
me
down that road, you and I, then.
It's rondos, right? Like you see it all the time in the rondos. Guys don't even turn to the ball; they just sort of ping it with their outside.
Yeah.
It's so terrible, so terrible. All
Oh,
right, let 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 me ask you. So you during the season you tied eventual national champions Johns Hopkins, absolutely fantastic team. Misericordia, absolutely fantastic team. And then you tied Washington University in the NCAA's, and you won on PKs. Do you have any thoughts on the lack of overtime during the regular season? Did you end up liking it? Do you prefer? Would you have preferred to? No easy questions here.
no, no, it's no. What's funny is about that is of course, when generally I look at that, I go like, no, I hated it. I want to play to the, I
Yeah,
want to play because
bitter end.
90% of the time I'm in
Yeah,
their end and
yeah.
whatever. But against Hopkins, when we scored with 10 minutes to go, I'm like, I'm glad this is over.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Can we get
Because
get that clock
they're
moving a little
really good.
quicker?
Right.
Yeah.
They're really good.
Yeah.
I don't know if we can hang on for another two. And, I think Misericordia, I would have said, I think we both walked out of that game going like, we could have won, we could have lost.
Lost.
Let's go home.
Yeah.
Because we both had our moments for both of
Yeah.
those things.
Yeah.
So anyway, in the end, if I had to pick again, I'd say no. Like,
Yeah.
I understand a little bit of, no, I really don't understand the reasoning why behind it. Like, I think they're not foundational, like logical reasons,
Yeah.
other than, I don't know, we're trying to, I don't know, protect, was it the safety of our athletes and how much they play? I'm like,
Yeah. Player
20
load.
minutes? Really? Use your bench sub.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's a D1 mindset. I don't know. Maybe I
Yeah.
think that's where it sits in a lot. But for me, I think one of the greatest moments in college soccer was golden goal.
Yeah.
Whether you won or lost, you can remember all of them.
Yeah.
For a player, right? For a player, for
Yeah.
whatever, it
Yeah.
was a special moment
Yeah.
that may or may not have happened, and you go like, it was hurt on the one side, it was unbelievable on the other. But as an athlete, like those are fun moments, like they're
Yeah.
memorable moments, and we just took it away.
Yeah.
Now we have a team with 10 ties.
Yeah. 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 And the other thing that leads to is like, well, now you're going to have to judge ties. You're going to have to say,
And
is a
yeah.
tie, what tie is good versus what tie is bad. And if that's the case, just make it a win or loss, like at that point, right? Like if you're going to judge the tie and not sort of have this, oh, it's just a tie. You might as well just make it a win or a loss.
Right.
Make
I'm
it
with
meaningless.
you. I think what is a good tie, what's not a
Yeah.
good tie.
Yeah.
That's too hard.
Yeah.
I think it'd been interesting to hear what the committee would have thought of that now as they had to walk through it. I never
Yeah.
talked to anybody about that. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
what did you do with ties?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't know.
that would be good, interesting to know. Like,
Yeah. How did that
I mean,
play out?
because clearly the Hopkins game you played that you tied 1-1, that's a great tie. Like that's a great tie, right? And
Sure.
then maybe if you tied York, that wouldn't necessarily be
Right.
as good of a tie as
But yeah.
Hopkins, right? And so how do you judge that? And then I just think, well, if you're putting on a secret sauce and nobody really knows, well, from year to year, it could change, right? There's
Sure.
no consistency to it.
Yeah.
So,
I just think it gives teams even more incentive not
yeah,
to try to win the game.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
there's too much of a reward for not winning.
yeah. There is. I mean, against you guys, right? Like the teams you play, there's too much of a reward to make you stumble, which there already was. If you got beat, but for a tie now, you're sort of putting it in that same category. Like, man, if we walk away from a tie,
Yeah.
it's might as well we won the World Cup, right? Like, we're that good. So, um, hey, are you? I know it's next year. You'll get the extra time for spring
Hmm.
training. Is that something that you enjoy? Is that
Yeah,
something you're welcoming?
I am. I think it's a great move. I wish they would give us at least one more game.
Yeah,
That I think would make it even okay. That would be good. I'm not interested in D1 and all time. I'm like, I wonder, like, what would I do with all that? I just think it's a
yeah,
lot.
yeah.
But to add another 50%, basically, right? We're getting
Mm-hmm.
another eight, that's 50%.
Yeah.
To add another 2 weeks of being able to connect with and develop and
Mm-hmm.
do some things, I think is awesome. I think just having contact with them in a way that I can
Mm-hmm.
face to face with the game
Yeah.
is really, really positive, and I'm glad they did it. I think it's a long time coming.
Yeah.
I mean,
But,
it needed to happen. I
yeah.
find it interesting, right? We have all these full-time coaches and full-time assistants. Don't talk to your players. You know,
Yeah, that is true. Like,
it's just
yeah,
but I would think it goes back to like there's been an evolving and a
yeah,
progress. Umpteen years ago, there weren't
yeah,
many full-time coaches,
yeah,
and schools were like, we don't want to put all that money into
yeah,
non-traditional season. We have to pay the coach more. Da 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 da. Well, now we have the coaches here,
yeah,
and he's what else is he doing? Well,
yeah.
I'm just
Just
and that's
hanging
why he's
out.
here.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
why he's here. It
yeah,
just makes sense.
yeah, yeah,
It just
yeah.
does.
Um, what? Let me ask you because of the conversation we had earlier, just sort of about the technical, and then what do your springs look like? Is it more? Do you focus more on the technical aspects of the
Mhm.
game, or do you keep reinforcing the structure of the
Yeah,
game that you're looking to instill?
I think it's an and of
Yeah,
those things.
yeah,
It gives me a chance to really work. I always say the spring is the biggest growth period for our new players, for the
mm-hmm,
freshmen, right?
yeah,
Because now they've gone through this crazy 3-4 months,
yeah,
and now they get to take a breath and go like, well, now I know what they're talking about,
mm-hmm,
and I can play and I can implement and whatever. So I think
mm-hmm,
that there's a huge growth in that. I also think it's a time where you start looking where players may slide into
mm-hmm,
something different. If there's a
yeah,
new role, can I give them experiences in a new role, but still within our structure? One of the things I want to work on this spring for us, I don't say it's new, but I haven't hammered it, is just the whole idea of vision scanning awareness. I just think
mm-hmm,
it's probably the one skill that every player is a deficit. Like
yeah,
so few players, and I think that's coaches' fault. It's not players' fault. Like coaches haven't taught it. We haven't
yeah,
done a good job. I haven't done a good. I've done it because I don't understand it well enough how to
mm-hmm,
teach it. So
yeah,
so to try to do new things like that for me is part of spring.
yeah, yeah. Okay. Hey, so you went 22-3. I may have mentioned. Was there a point during the season where where either you realized or you thought this team is really good, really well, and we have the capacity as far as we want? That
Yeah, I think I felt that in even last year, like it's pretty similar to a year ago.
mhm,
Pretty similar. Um, Not to get stuck. I felt like COVID hit more than I thought it would. Like experience, I didn't measure the value of experience for players, but I needed to.
mhm,
And so my expectation, like, so last year's junior, year senior, should be further along than we
yeah,
were. Now, now they have a year and seniors. And so I always felt the team was capable of competing with anybody,
mhm,
but also that we were still anybody.
mhm,
And I think there's a difference between the two. I think
yeah.
a lot because
There was, so there was,
year I had that we were special. We're past that.
yeah,
If we we're like we're capable of playing with anybody.
mhm,
Athletic, whatever. We're going to struggle to together and collective. Yep. If we don't do something, we can keep developing. And I think that's what happened about mid-season. Probably the last season. Like we got to our regular season if we're Williams in all those games we played 4-2-3-1.
Yeah.
And I felt in a conference teams are going to be, they're just going to sit on us. Like I just felt like we're going to have to adjust. And because I felt like we're going to need to go forward.
Yeah.
And so we started 3-5-2, and it was sort of a blend of ideas we've been doing. So yeah, we made a change. In the best, but that also in my head, I thought this is like if we can play. Like everybody else, I just tried against them.
Well, I actually right. Like I think done one formation, and they were and
and so that kind of like you have to have is at some point
we are.
So we're going to run with it. We're trying to make them uncomfortable as long as we can.
Could you talk about this the game? Yeah. With hands, and sort of what that experience was like. But did you how do you mind like, hey, if we play and we can break, maybe we can do this like
Sure. You have to believe that if we do this, we talk about I thought the first 20 minutes, I'm like, do what we need to do. Like, we had 12, we kept it at times. We made them a little uneasy. We had some things going on that doesn't matter, but it was important personnel on the field. Unless, our center back is oh my gosh, she's she's challenged. For like 5 minutes with players because and so all those things are going on, and you're just like, but we
yeah, that was big.
huge.
Yeah.
I'm like, I always you were pretty. Like they were great girl. I'm like, they're a chance. Like they are. You're gonna go wave when it's for chance. That like, oh, that, and then it's just like we're not coming back from that. And
all this people just I just all of a sudden I think you're nervous. I really started questioning, oh my gosh, am I doing the right thing?
Sure.
At that point, those doubts in your head, like forget it.
So I walked out. We had to be perfect. And they're good if you give them an inch. That's like, oh gosh, that's overwhelming. So I walked out there like, would I play it differently? Probably not. Like we could play. It's not how I like to play, and I think it allows them to dig, and I think it allows them to dig the game.
I actually that's a good point because I always, I was look at some point hey, we're who we are. We want I, I'm, I was never. I was always like, so on a score, and how do you score? You don't score by sitting in the back and just absorb, and hope you're going to get one time. That doesn't, as much as it doesn't happen. Like, it doesn't happen that often. And you can't rely on that. That's I hope it's a strategy. Right? Like, this is right? Um, so, and I thought you had defensively, you were outstanding. You know, you only see 3 goals. Had, I thought some of the two really special players who was rookie of the year, who I actually picked for my best in and Christina Axelson, who's defensive player of the year, and then Janice, I can't thank you very much. An All-American and who accolades as well. Could you talk about the importance of your back line in your success and how they say, right, like defense wins championships? Was that the case a little bit? I mean, but I mean, I do think it was outstanding. I think she was the anchor, right? Yeah. So.
I always, I agree when people say defense wins championships. I go like, defense scoring goals. I think defense have to be. If you can score goals now, which look at
Goals, yeah.
Look at our teams that have won, like we have to
score goals.
That's important.
But you should be the talk about that.
But what's interesting is, a little bit of background is Julia transferred the latest summer. With the conversation, she said we can make it work financially. Like that was the question, right? They made it financially, she was able to make it happen. So we had actual that was where Christina was going. We didn't have vendors, just did. And there was another conversation about like Taylor. So Taylor was a grad student who was an All-America last year before.
Yeah.
But she tore her ACL in the semi-final conference.
Oh my gosh.
There's a huge, so all unbelievable players, who are very different players, but unbelievable, right? So they just put able to put on a center back player. About it. Because of her experience, just right place, right time, to play sport. I think really good athletic. She's that dynamic. I think that is all look for. Like, 4 goals, 3 goals, corners.
Yeah. Go.
We work on that's a great thing to work on. But yeah, put together about 4 in front of the freshman keeper. I think a little bit, the 2 whole pretty solid back group that can handle most teams athletically. Like we can run with up front. Like we have athleticism to be able to run with guys. Yeah.
I thought they were outstanding. And I really see watching that I'll just say that the framework how I wanted them to play. Disciplined and sort of where they needed to be defensively, right? And
Yeah.
touch. And then on the flip side, we weren't too shabby. 74 goals, year levels, and Brianna and Kylie Firestone. I mean, those are some great ball players right there, right? You know, you think you had the balance with them? Did you think? Do you think you think you left goals on the table, right? I think you should have had more. If you had that special player, you know, this special goals.
Honest, I think all of them are good players. The only one you can get one by yourself. I mean, they both showed by yourself. Like you could once by, you could once Riley playmaker who was, that type of thing. But go back to like an Aaron Hammond there who scored 20 plus their own goals.
Yeah.
They could get you one by themselves. Do more often by themselves. That's how we play.
Yeah.
But just go like, all right, in a moment in the game, or just wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
Goal.
Yeah. Perform. Yeah. Yeah. It's very true. There's a difference. And you got to look at Man City right? Man City had to work for the goal, right? Like just work, make all those things, and now they just put it. They just look at. You got. Yeah, he's gonna have it. Like, I don't know how it does, right? Like that's very. I can see that. That makes sense. So let me ask you, what does your recruiting class, it kind of recruiting class look like?
It's a solid class. Who's special has done it. I think next year you're really crazy. I think these are we have pieces there, but it's deep and some young players.
Yeah.
But this is what we have to work with.
Yeah.
And if we can make that to do a couple really, really well, we have a chance. Versus, I hope it works out. I think having a structure that we understand and believe in gives us a place to start from.
Yeah. Then it is. That's why I'm a fan of watching you. Like, it looks like you sort of 100% now. We're out, putting another, and it starts. It's still there's no major disruption. Even though there's still maybe different, but the fundamental remain consistent. I love teams, right? They move, and then next thing you know, it's sort of flows around, right? Okay, I'll back to figuring out your technology. Do you look for the right person or the right player?
Yes. Go back to great.
Yeah.
Jesus, the don't want one or the other. Both. I want a really good player, but she doesn't fit us. That work. But I also, oh, she's a really nice player. So every player on a team just to play soccer.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm looking for you need to be a great person. You need to be a worker. You need to buy into what we want. And you need to play soccer. You have technical ability. You have to be able to run. Game, like Not is one more than the other. Like, you have to be athlete, but it doesn't help me. And she could be the nicest person in the world, and she can't ask to help me. Like,
That's what I always say. Like, great player can't forget it.
no, you're an athlete.
Yeah.
Which is maybe that's why for this thing, I dive into like
Yeah.
I a little time, but if I can get them better with what they can do, that's what I do. I can get them better at what they can do because they do. It wouldn't be here if they can't do. But I make it better. So when I'm watching the having it better, can she get out of the trouble by herself? Does she have ideas? Does she take into the girl's chins? So she can she both feet outside her cubicle? Consistently, like I can use you because you can put it in the system. If you can't get out of trouble by yourself and you just thinking it, I don't know that one.
To say to recruit that comes to your professional class, what do you think the main difference is between I'll just say a freshman coming in and a sophomore coming in, right? Like, is there a gap in their ability? Is there a gap in their knowledge? What's the next guy? Nowadays, they're top their, what's that gap in the jump?
Sure, that's what I do about ranges. Is the point because it takes the freshman a whole season. Most of them lingo, style, how we play, style, all those things. It's learning curve. Some pick it up faster than others, of course. But for the most part, now, or here's what I think happens. Now, as a sophomore, now you get to do the things that you do as a player within the box.
Yeah.
Now I can be within the box because I know what the box is, and I get to be in it. Now, freshman, I'm the box is, I'm in the
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's the biggest challenge for players. Like, hey, every time you do something, it looks like, is that right? Is that right? Because there is right or wrong. At least they hear it. They feel the right or wrong. The freshman year, they've gone through it. They know what the wrong is. And now they can themselves and add their
Um, it's like, how can somebody imagine a player? I'm a Messiah for you. What's your
email. We follow link if you that's really helpful. No, I value someone I can tell has a little deeper, which is a huge part. When that conversation comes up, you know, part of the conversation is I desire, you know, go in favor that matters to me. So she knows who we are. We're not just another program. I'm just saying, program. There's something unique and distinct about it.
Yeah, all right. My last question. Can I ask you about the component? I mean, it's big. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I value that, but like, it is a big thing. Is that a self-filtering aspect of the recruiting process? The fact that there's such a heavy emphasis on faith?
Yeah. It's my first question.
Yeah.
Right. I articulate. Let's talk to everybody coming out. This is who we are. If it doesn't, fantastic. If it doesn't, like, all the time, you know, something in that conversation about, hey, do you understand the this Messiah church, da, 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 da. And I was like, that's who I am. It has to be, to get, I've seen it in too many places where we're decide to play both sides of the line.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. Yeah.
Bold, right? People who are,
Yeah,
like,
you
whether
are.
it's good or not.
I mean, it's irrelevant. It's who we are.
Yeah.
This is what we value. I want you to value it as well, and I think that's the uniqueness of Messiah.
Another question that yeah, all right, I totally my mind get down rabbit hole about faith. And like I said, it does present, I think, two things about a school faith. Just, and this is probably for it, but I think there's something to be said about your purpose. Right? In a soccer program that helps you, one, stay humble, two, right, you know what the prize really is, right? Like, and I mean, generically. But then I also think there is a degree of discipline that comes with being a person of faith that doesn't necessarily translate, you know, it's like just a generic faith school that does indifferent about that sort of thing. In a lot of ways, there's a commonality between faith and be a good soccer player and soccer player.
I mean, you can get down the rabbit hole of structure.
Yeah.
Something Christ me.
Yeah.
It's like, that's interesting.
Yeah.
When I was at Alabama, was a, you know, regular school, you just had different conversations about being a good teammate, right?
Yeah.
Being a good teammate, like, good things. Different conversations in a different way here because of the understanding of someone who desires faith. How does that look like in relationships with my team?
Mm-hmm.
How does it look like as a leader in certain leadership?
Yeah.
And sacrifice myself?
Yeah.
Different conversation.
Yeah.
To the team of grace, to love and value my faith because I'm valued and loved by Christ.
Yeah.
Conversation that you have in another context.
Yeah.
I do think it impacts all those cultural improvements.
Yeah. That's intriguing because you might start looking at another program and I think after an interview, and they're not Division 3. I think they're Bob Smith University. Bob University, who also have great soccer programs. They just won SC2C provisional division. Again, a lot of similarities in sort of how they're to you guys and to look at them. I'm like, God, I could see the similarities on a key component of being faith. But that doesn't discount my fundamental belief. I mean, respectfully, Messiah, small Christian college in nowhere, right? Through a corner, right? Like there's a school, there's a little bit more than nowhere. You know what I mean? In middle PA, where you know, if I into it, I think any school with the right, I think, structure, right level of commitment to playing in a certain way. I said being bold about who you are. I think anyone can themselves as the power of a program. You know, yeah.
When I went to
Mm.
they were mad.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I um, it was hard. Yes, I think you can do it. You have to know who you are.
Yeah.
You got to make hard choices. You got to do it. I think that's the one. Coach want to know read an article and change. It's going to change next season.
Season. Yeah.
5, 6,
Yeah.
and it's hard.
Yeah. I think that who you are has to be, you have to live that daily. Like, it's something that you can compromise on, and everything you do has to fit with that mold. And your players have to see it almost to the point where they don't see it after a while. Them more or less, and they start to become accepting of it. And I think that's a key concept, at least in terms of who I think school that wants to sort of become a powerhouse in the game. Anyhow, Coach, thank you very much. Really appreciate that. I was trying to do a good job